how can I be a loving father and on the same time follow my path and do the things I love, because I was very scared if I can still live the life that I had even with a child. And then he asked me the question again, and the answer popped up. It was, my daughter is my teacher.
Hi. In this episode, you'll receive inspiration on how to live and express your essence from Daniel Rieber. In the episode, we'll be talking about dealing with uncertainty and how fear is connected to this, how children can be our teachers, and how we can express ourselves through music and art, and in his case, through rap music. We'll also touch the topic of spirituality and many other fascinating things. So I hope you enjoy. So welcome to today's episode, Daniel. First, I would like to introduce you to everyone who is listening and watching. Daniel is an amazing friend. And he is also the co-founder of an organization called Wevolve, a consultancy for leadership and cultural transformation. He is a podcaster on a podcast called Auf der Suche nach dem Hier und Jetzt in German, or Seeking the Here and Now. He also wrote a book about this topic of mindful self-leadership and the inner compass with the same title. He is a rapper and started producing his own rap music. And he's also a father of an 8-month-old daughter. So I'm so touched and so happy that you are joining this episode. Welcome, Daniel.
Thanks for having me. And I really feel honored that I'm the first person who is your guest. And you've been guest in my podcast, I think, for 2 times now. And it always was just an amazing talk, and I really love those episodes. So I'm happy that now I'm your guest, and yeah, we know each other, and every time we talk, it's so much fun. So thanks for having me. And how am I arriving? I'm happy because I love doing podcasts and I love talking to inspiring people like you. And also in German, you would say durch den Wind. So not really 100% in my presence. It's difficult for me to have this clarity in my head right now because I'm awake since 5 a.m. I'm a proud dad of a 8-month-old girl. And she really changed my life in a lot of ways. And one part is that, my clarity is not 100%, but I'm good with that. I'm getting better in accepting that. That's how I'm here.
Thanks for checking in, and thanks for sharing like openly how you are arriving. I've got to know you as a person, as one of your missions is this seek and quest for how to arrive in the here and now. And you've wrote a book about it. You have a podcast on that where I was also one of your guests. So I really admire this openness in sharing like your present state. And I can imagine that this will be an amazing inspiration for many, many other people. I'm arriving right now here, super excited. And I'm trying to find this balance of being really, really too excited and all over the place and focused and with you. Yeah. While I'm getting used to this amazing new setup here, and I hope that everyone can hear me well and see me well with light conditionings, which are ever changing as life is. All right, I would like to give like a brief introduction on what we are exploring here in this podcast and also in this episode. So this podcast is called Essence, and everything that I do has the intention to inspire others to live their essence. And in this podcast, I want to invite inspiring people like you that others can get ideas of which qualities of essence exist in humanity, how we can connect with these qualities and our essence, how we can express our essence, how other do that, and just to get all the different colors of life into this podcast. And in the very beginning, what we did, what you people on YouTube and on Spotify didn't know, is that we did like a little meditation where I guided Daniel towards connecting to a recent experience where he was feeling in touch with his essence. So I would love to hear from you without you describing the content of exactly the situation, but first starting with the sensations of how does it feel in your system to be connected with your essence?
That's a good question. So first of all, thanks for the little meditation. I could really use it. And, I love your voice. Just listening to your voice is already a meditation for me. And I think that your listeners also made the experience. And I think it's not so easy to explain how I felt for me in English, because obviously it's not my mother tongue. But let me try it. So I felt when I thought about this moment, or when this moment came to me, I felt bigger, especially like my chest was really wide. I felt my heartbeat. And there was this ease, so this connectedness and ease, and being in the present moment, being live there when life unfolds. So, and like observing with curiosity and openness what happens. So it's not so much the bodily experience, but this is like how I would interpret it or translate it. So it felt good, but it was not like an excitement like when you win the lottery, you're like, whoa, yeah. It was more like a calm excitement. I think this is a good description: a calm connectedness and excitement.
Beautiful, calm connectedness and excitement. I've never won the lottery. I don't know how that feels. I think not so calm. So I like the words I described it. And do you also want to share the situation that came to you?
Yeah, that was actually an easy one. So on the weekend, I was at the Frankfurter Buchmesse, so at the book fair. And I'm an author, as you mentioned. So 1.5 years ago, I published my first book on mindfulness, self-leadership, and the inner compass. And I would love to talk about the inner compass, because I think this is pretty much the way to the essence. And yeah, being there on this book fair for the first time, and it was not about my book, actually. So I was not there as an author, but I had my book with me, and I just felt like, wow, this is like a big moment to be here. And I was booked as a speaker. So I was on stage, and I was talking about emotions in the working context, so at the workplace. And the funny thing is that when I remembered this moment, it was not just being on stage. It was like the whole experience, like from getting into the ICE, into the train, and being in the hotel, and then meeting everyone who was involved, and then being on stage. It was just like everything felt perfect, or it felt like it has to be like this. So it's like before you pressed the record button, you said, let's dive into this river, which was funny because the tool we are using is Riverside. But it was exactly like this, like the river opens, and I just go with the flow, and I'm just life. Life unfolds. Yeah, it's actually difficult to explain that in words. That doesn't sound too too spiritual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And also, yeah, our intention is to try to
Mm.
reach with the way how we speak, reach as many people as possible. So I really appreciate you adding like this little this note to your experience. And you were saying that it's like being in the moment, like flow.
Mm.
It's some
Mm.
like feels like riding a wave. What does that describe it? The wave of this aliveness?
Yeah, that's a pretty good description actually. But again, it's not just this high feeling of excitement. So when you're riding a wave, there's this moment of whoa. Yeah.
Mm.
I'm not talking about this moment, like when people applaud after a keynote. So when everyone like claps their hands, and this is of course an exciting moment, but I'm talking about this calm excitement that was there the whole time. Yeah, this feeling of everything is right as it is. It's perfect, and I can just enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Which
I
doesn't mean
also
that it's not easy. Yeah, there are also
mm,
challenges, and there is uncertainty, insecurities, moments which are not pleasant, but still there's still this feeling of being on a ride.
so would you say that being connected to your essence can also be a state while you experience something challenging or uncomfortable, or is
Yes,
it only the beautiful side?
exactly. I think this is a very important part, because a lot of people, I think a lot of people connect. You can call it essence, or you can. In my book, I talk about moments of excellence, and or finding yourself, or being the best version of yourself. And of course, there's a lot of pleasant emotions connected to that. But it doesn't mean that everything goes well, and it doesn't mean that there are no challenges, and it doesn't mean that it is not a ride. Or how do you call that? Achterbahnfahrt, a roller coaster ride. Huh?
Hmm.
But it's the feeling of I'm in the right moment at the right place. I'm the right person, and I can I can do this, whatever happens.
I can imagine that at this moment, people are really curious about the little cliffhanger that you dropped, this
Mhm.
compass. So maybe
Mhm.
it's like, okay, now I've got a taste of how the essence feels, or being connected to
Mhm.
this essence feels for Daniel, and which situation. But like, how how do you get there? How do you know that you're on the
Mhm.
right path?
Mhm. So I would like to take you and the listeners on a little journey for this, to answer your question. So 12 years ago, I had a very challenging moment. I had this moment where I was deaf um, for like a few minutes. It was like because of stress, and very shocking moment, because it was like someone hits me and I just fall down, and I had no, my hearing was not there anymore, and then it came back with the tinnitus. And this was a very shocking moment for me, but it was also the moment where I started to change my life, where I started to ask myself questions. So who am I? What am I doing here? What is a good way of living, and so on. And I had this 10-year journey where I learned so much, where I traveled to places, where I met inspiring people. And at the end, I wrote this book, Searching for Here and Now, which describes this 10-year journey. And the book has three parts. The first part is about being in the present moment, so about mindfulness. The second part is about setting your goals and leading yourself towards those goals, which is self leadership. And the third part is the inner compass. And when I was writing the book, I was very sure what to write about mindfulness or about self leadership, because I also worked as an expert for this, as a speaker, as a trainer, as a coach. But I was really not sure what about, or I write in this section about the inner compass, because this actually was on my journey, the part where I was in. Yeah, so it was like I was documenting where I am right now. And so I did a lot of research. What is intuition? What is inner compass? What is inner wisdom? I did a lot of meditations or like ceremonies and talked with a lot of people about it. And I got more and more a better understanding. And then I published the book. And I said to myself, for the next year, I want to live 100% exactly what I've wrote. So I cannot publish a book about how to follow the inner compass without doing it myself. And you remember that this was like the year of the adventurer. So I started to follow this inner compass and to just do the things that feel right. So I was searching for these moments of excellence. So when do I have this feeling that everything fits together? Yeah, that the feeling that I just described. And the interesting thing is that a lot of things didn't go well in this year. So, for example, we had a lot of challenges business-wise with our company. We had challenges before my daughter was born with the question if we can have a child. There were so many things, but at the same time, I was allowing myself to follow this path, and a lot of things unfolded that I didn't expect. Yeah, so to give a few examples, I allowed myself to do rap music again, which doesn't make a lot of sense for a 43-year-old person, or I was 41, who has to get his business right because he is self-employed. And I wrote a complete album, and I went on tour as a support act for a kind of famous rapper here in Germany. And I started with like improv theater, and then found out that I want to do stand-up comedy, and so on and so on and so on and so on. So I was on a new path, and this was also the start of my second book that I'm writing right now. It's called The Power of Uncertainty, or The Power of Insecurity. It's difficult to translate that from German into English, because it's actually both. It's feeling insecurity because of uncertainty. And this is why I was speaking so long, is to close the circle. For me, it has to do a lot with this feeling, this unpleasant feeling of uncertainty and insecurity. Yeah, to follow your inner compass, because it's always a step out of the comfort zone. It's always something new. It's always something that doesn't fit to all the beliefs that you learned during your life. Yeah, so I can tell so much more, but maybe I make a full stop here.
I find it really, really exciting and fascinating. Like, I've been accompanying your journey as well in that year, and I was so amazed by you trying out all these different new things. Well, new in a sense, you have been rapping for a while, but then going on tour, releasing an album, producing the album, writing a new book, all these different things I find very inspiring. And I can imagine that it's super interesting for most of the people as well to hear that, your journey. And I wanted to ask you as well, like, what was it that pulled you in, that was calling you, that made you go through these insecurities and this feeling of maybe discomfort, or like, am I on the right path? Like, what was it that was calling you in?
That is a good question. I don't have a simple answer, and I'm still trying to figure that out. And I think there are a lot of different layers. I think there is this feeling deep inside of me that feels like sense. So it makes sense. It feels like a big trust or a big love, a connectedness. And whenever I connect to this feeling inside of me, I know that everything is perfect as it is. And sometimes in the everyday life, when I look at my bank account or when I rush from one Zoom meeting to another, I forget about this and I start asking a lot of questions to myself. But then when I calm and connect to this inner calmness, this inner connectedness, then I know that everything I'm doing is on the right path, whatever that means.
So it's
So
like
maybe
this.
maybe this is a simple answer. Yeah, it is an inner feeling that's very difficult to describe, and I hope that everyone who's listening had moments in his life or her life where they also had this connectedness to this inner feeling.
Beautiful to hear, like this deep sense of connectedness, trust, love, like an inner,
Hmm.
deeper experience. I hear it's not so
Yeah.
much from the mind that you think about it, be like, huh, that makes sense, but a deeper,
Mhm.
yes, this makes sense. Although it might not make sense at all, looking
Yeah,
at
exactly.
it from the outside.
Exactly. And that's the difficult part on my journey right now. So there is my mind, my head, with a lot of self-talk and a lot of beliefs from my past life. And with past life, I mean the first 40 years of my life. And the self-talk is a lot about building securities, um, planning my life, checking the boxes, what a successful life should look like. And when I listen to this voice, then I should not do rap music. I should not do stand-up comedy. I should find myself a proper job and fill my bank account. But when I calm this voice and when I listen more to this feeling, then I know what's good for me. And my feeling is that it's not only good for me, but that it's also some kind of sense, bigger sense for what I'm doing. So it's also that there's also kind of I don't want to use the word purpose because I think that a lot of people use it in a different way. Just that it makes sense not only on an individual level, that it has an impact.
So, what I also hear you say is that part of how to connect with my essence has to do
Mm.
with letting go of certain things.
Hmm.
You said like past life. How
Yeah.
would you describe that? What was your process? What were you letting go of in order to connect more to your essence and this sensation that you described?
Hmm. A lot. And I'm really still in this process of letting go. Um, and I think that it's I actually yesterday I had a podcast interview with a philosopher for my podcast, and we talked about it was about sense. What is the sense of this all? What is the sense of the world? And I really liked his approach, and I like his book because it's very down to earth. Very so. What can I do in my everyday life? I can find sense in talking to people, building up relationships, having an impact in my work, and so on. Um, but at the same time, um, I was talking from my own experience, and I was talking about this feeling that I have, and that this gives me sense, and that I don't need the sense in everyday things because there's like this deeper feeling of sense, which kind of holds me up, or which like a boat on a river. Yeah, you can just sit
Mm.
on it to stay in our picture. And the inner work that I'm doing is to observe all the thoughts that come up and to check if those thoughts are really my thoughts and if those thoughts really are in service for myself. And I can see that most of my thoughts actually are not. Yeah, so there's, for example, this thought of comparing myself to others. There's this thought of um, giving seeing other people and judging about them. There is this sort of what is right, what is wrong. This black-white thinking, yeah. Either it's right or it's wrong. And all those thoughts, they're not really in service of who I am. They're not really of service of connectedness, of love, of humanness or humanity. So I don't think that I'm really good in doing this inner work, because I know that it's tough work and a lot of people do it in a very good way. So I have this little Post-it here, which says, ich stehe ganz am Anfang.
Oh,
I'm still at the beginning. And this reminds me that even if I wrote a book about mindfulness, I still don't have a clue. I don't know anything about mindfulness. And even if I coach people in finding themselves, I don't have a clue who I am. Yeah, and this helps me to stay open, curious, and humble. Yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but this is what comes up thinking about it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's like letting go of thoughts that don't serve you. In connecting with this deeper sense. And then I was asking myself, like, when such a thought pops up in your mind, what do you do?
Mm-hmm. I observe this thought with curiosity. So like, interesting. So in the best case, in most cases, I identify with this thought and I follow the thought. And I think this is me, and I'm such a genius that I have such a great thought. But more and more often, I can just observe it with curiosity and just think that's interesting. Why is this thought here? Maybe because my parents lived like that, or my parents told this to me when I was a child. Maybe this thought is here because I watched a lot of television when I was younger, and I saw a lot of shows and films and series, and I think that life has to be like this. Yeah, or the thought comes up because generations before this, like when you look at the evolution, it actually made sense. Like being scared of spiders made a lot of sense a few hundred years ago. But it doesn't make sense right now because there are no dangerous spiders in Germany. So, and I think it's so interesting because our mind is such a wonderful tool that we can use for so many great things. But the moment we think we are the tool and we don't use it, but it uses us, it can become exactly the opposite.
Beautiful. The moment we realize or we believe that we are the tool and it uses us. Yeah, I like that, being like in this awareness of, okay, what am I observing? And whose voice is that that's speaking? Maybe this thought in my mind. Who ingrained that in my mind? And I also hear that it's a very human thing to have these kind of thoughts that either limit us or want to keep us in a certain direction or in a certain space. And that sometimes it works, observing those thoughts and letting go, and sometimes it doesn't. And I was wondering...
Absolutely.
Do you have any strategies that you use and apply when the mental strategy of I decide I want to let go of this thought, or I decide I just observe it, when they don't work? Is there something that you do apart from the mental strategies?
I surround myself with conscious, loving people who dare to tell me what they observe. For example, friends, colleagues, my wife. I think it's so important that people with curiosity, not with judgment, ask, that's interesting, you said just this. Do you know why you said this? Or do you have an idea what's behind this thought that you just mentioned or that you just spoke out. So I think that this is very helpful. And also very helpful is to have those moments of reflection. And I'm missing that a little bit at the moment because of being a father, lacking sleep. But like this morning meditation or this mindful walk after work, where you not actively think and just see what comes to you. And I can observe a lot of times that those moments, they come back like a boomerang. Yeah, when you behaved different or not in line with your values, or not in line with what person you want to be, and then it comes back in some way, and then this is like, interesting. Why is this thought coming back? Something is here. Yeah.
Yeah, so various strategies also that the actively choosing our relationships that can nurture our essence. And I actually planned for next year writing another children's book exactly on this topic, actually, how our environment shapes us in good and bad ways, meaning that either it nurtures our growth and development or not. And as you were speaking about being a father, and now you have this relationship with your daughter, in which ways would you say is this relationship nurturing your connection with your own essence?
In so many ways. Before I became a father, I had, at the beginning of the year, I had a very intense retreat in Greece, and my teacher told me or asked me the question, what will your child be for you, or how can you make the best? I don't remember I think I asked him the question, how can I be a loving father and on the same time follow my path and do the things I love, because I was very scared if I can still live the life that I had even with a child. And then he asked me the question again, and the answer popped up. It was, my daughter is my teacher. And I think this is, in so many ways, this is true, because a child is just a child. A child is perfect. Even when a child screams or doesn't want to sleep, it's just doing things that a child is doing. There's no agenda. There's no hidden intention. There's no manipulation. It's just a baby. And I can learn so much observing my reaction to it. And I can learn so much about emotions and what emotions am I good connected to and which emotions am I not good connected to. At the moment, I can learn a lot from being exhausted. So I'm really exhausted at the moment, especially in this combination of being a father and being self-employed, and learning how does that feel? How does it feel not to have a mindfulness practice every day? How does it feel to be durch den Wind, to be not 100% with your clarity in the moment? And I know that sounds strange because a lot of people tell me that still they think when I talk like I'm talking right now, that there is a lot of clarity, but it doesn't feel like that. Yeah. So from this perspective of the person who's speaking. And this is really a big help for me in everyday life, seeing my daughter as a teacher, because it's normally the other way around. You think that as a parent you have to teach your children, and of course there are so many things that you can teach your children, but you can learn so much from them. You can learn so much about what it means to be a human. You can learn so much about emotions. for example, she just discovered a new emotion, anxiety. Yeah. For the first 6 months, she didn't have that emotion. And now there are moments where she is scared and where she needs safety from her parents. And just seeing how this emotion comes to her life and changes her life and how she reacts, wow, what can be a better trainer than that for someone who is into emotional intelligence like I am?
Wow. Thank you for sharing this. I'm really touched by hearing this connection that you have with your daughter, and it sounds like what's also supporting you is this purity in her being.
Exactly. Yes. That's a good word for it. Yeah.
So if I were to translate that in how can I support others to live their essence, from what you said, I can imagine that is if I try to be pure with my being, this inspires and supports others. Is that true for you?
It sounds beautiful and it sounds easy. And I think maybe it is easy. For me, it's still very difficult. For me, it's work, inner work, and it's an everyday challenge. And I think I like this idea of you don't have to learn who you are. You have just to unlearn who you are not, because you are who you are. You don't have to learn that. You don't have to discover that. It's already there. You just have to unlearn all the things that you thought you are and that you thought that defined you. So when I'm not my job description, and when I'm not my bank account, and when I'm not the expensive car that I have, and my intellectual talking, and the book that I released, who am I? What is always there?
Beautiful. I can feel the presence of your interview on philosophy yesterday. Who am I? Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, yeah, well, as we are talking about essence, the question, who am I, comes up immediately, right? And I love what you shared about this unlearning. It's like we don't need to learn who we are, right? Because we are who we are.
Yeah. I actually have a question to you, John, because I know
Please.
that you are an expert for finding your essence, and I know you since quite a few years, and I love accompanying you on your path. Do you think that there's this one essence, or do you think that there are many essences?
Beautiful. So I did a podcast episode recently on spirituality, where I was talking, and in that episode, I tried to give my take on that. So what I believe in, and if any one of you watching and listening to that, if you don't believe that, that's totally fine. It's just like sharing my perspective on life in general, the big questions. So what I believe is that there's this one consciousness, and this one consciousness, in my belief system, expresses itself through various shapes and forms. And that can be plants and animals and human beings. And even within the realm of human beings, I believe that it expresses itself in many different shapes and forms. And that every one of us carries a unique essence, as a unique expression of this one consciousness. I think it comes through this one consciousness, but I believe that every expression is unique. Because I also ask myself that if we had the same essence, what would happen? Like, would we be competing my essence is better than yours, there can only be
Hmm.
one, what would happen? Um, and just to give like a frame around that, like I ask myself this question because why would I have a belief system? Every one
Hmm.
of us believes in certain things. And for me, belief systems are good if they serve us in some way. And this belief system that I just described serves me in a way that, okay, if that's actually the case, and who knows, right? Then my only job is relaxing into the knowing
Hmm.
that there's something that wants to express itself through me.
Hmm.
And that whatever comes, like this, you spoke of this deep connection with yourself,
Yes.
that's this expression of you're on the right path. Just express yourself. Whatever comes, it might not make any sense to your mind, but this is the unique flavor, and
Yeah.
the universe wants this. So that's what I at least believe. And yeah, I'm grateful for this question. What do you believe?
Hmm. I think that your answer was wonderful. And I was wondering if the word belief is the right word. Is it something that you feel deep inside of you that this is
Mm,
true?
yeah, yes, yeah, right. Like belief system. Yeah, it sounds like a mental construct. It is kind of in a way, but it's more like
Hmm.
a sensation. And it's nothing that I was just sitting down for a while and then I thought, okay, I want to create my own belief system. What would that look like?
Mm.
There's a long story to that. Basically, I was somewhere in the jungle in Colombia, living in a community.
That's how the
Uh,
good stories start.
yeah, yeah, right. And it was true. I was really there, like in a very beautiful community. I'm going to share the short version of it. And yeah, I had some very deep conversations with the people living there, and one of them is actually was on the board of the global eco village network, and he founded that community. And I had very inspiring conversations. And in one moment, and yeah, before that, I read the book by Ken Wilber on Cosmos. That you gave that to me, actually. Right? Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. I
yeah,
was just
yeah,
thinking
yeah,
about it.
yeah. That was it. You
Wonderful.
gave me the book, and I read it while I was traveling through Colombia. And in that moment in the jungle, I had like this super deep, like felt sense realization of, ah, that's it. And it was just there, inspired by Ken Wilber and you.
Give me 1 second. I have to open the door for the cat.
Yeah, please. It's also very down to earth. So we're traveling through Colombia and meaning of life, and then we are
Mm.
faced with like the day-to-day experience of a cat knocking on our door, wanting to get
Mm.
in.
And now she's part of our session. Um, yeah, it actually fits very good to the discussion I had with a philosopher. Um, and I think that there are two ways how to learn about this world and about this life. The one way is to think about it. The other way is to experience it. And I think it's neither the one or the other, it's both. I think that it makes sense to, when you experience something, to also think about it, read about it, talk about it. Yeah, you just mentioned Ken Wilber. Yeah, so you read about some ideas. And on the other hand, when you learn about something, read about something, it's also important to make this experience. And this is like my journey is like on in both directions. So I want to read about things. I love thinking about things. And also I want to experience things. And I have this amazing book, Untethered Soul. I think we talked about that. And it's so crazy. I have this book since a year. And every time I read in it, the chapter exactly describes what I'm experiencing on my journey. And I just read like the first 30 or 40% of the book. And I know that I have to do a pause at the moment. But it's like every time I look at it, I see like, wow, that is the next layer of understanding how things work. And I really enjoyed listening to your description, how you, or what you believe or what you feel. And what can I add to this? I think that um, I think when you found your essence, it does not have to be like, okay, this is me. I will do exactly this in the next 50 years, because this would also mean attachment and sticking to something, to an idea. This would also be a story. That would also be, a belief. Yeah, but always being open how the essence expresses itself or changes. And this is so interesting when I just look at the last year or the last 1.5 years. How this feeling was always the same, but the expression was different. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it's so valuable to talk about this, and I think, John, the two of us, we didn't have this discussion offline in this depth, and you just came back from a very intense retreat, and I think there are a lot of new thoughts and experiences that you bring with you, and I feel that I'm not 100% comfortable talking about those things in a podcast, which is an interesting observation, because for me, it's always important that people can connect to what I say. And the moment you talk about something like a deep feeling, like an experience you have, sometimes it's difficult to understand what someone means if you didn't have the experience. You know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah, that people can relate to what you're
Yeah.
expressing.
And I'm not even talking about enlightenment. Yeah, I'm just talking about finding this inner peace, this inner wisdom, connecting to it, and surrendering to it, and just observing how it expresses in everyday life.
Yeah, and just to take your between the lines imitation, let's try to ground this, to make this very, very tangible and everyday life-like. If someone is listening right now to this podcast and they're like, I want to live my essence more, I want to connect with it more, I want to express it on a very down-to-earth, day-to-day way. How, you named it before, but maybe like summarizing it again, how are you connecting with the essence or expressing it in a day-to-day way?
When I work with coaches, or talk to people who ask me this question, and I also tried to bring it in a very simple form in my book when I was talking about the inner compass. It's about thinking about the moments in your life where you felt like yourself, where you felt authentic, whatever word you want to use here. And the important thing is that it's not about thinking, it's about what comes, just being open. So when you did the meditation before we pressed the record button, you didn't ask me, what do you think was a moment? You ask what moment comes to you in front of your inner eye. So take a moment. It can be a walk in the woods. It can be a meditation, and calm yourself down, and then just observe what comes up, and just try to create a room, a space where things can come up. So a welcoming, loving, peaceful space. And when things come up that you don't understand, don't judge it. Don't judge it. Always stay curious. Something is there that's important for you. something is there where you can learn from. And this is the work, I would say. Yeah, so always having these moments of inner calm and reflection, but it's not about a mental reflection. It's more about an inner reflection, I would say.
Beautiful. Thank you. And as I know that you're also now grounding it even more, knowing that you're also a rapper, you have been on tour, you have been creating an album and writing new songs. Does one of your songs also connect with this theme of connecting to this state or just expressing what's alive for you? Is there any kind of song, like if someone would be, I want to listen to Daniel's rap music and I would love to listen to one of these songs connected to the themes that we're talking about, is there one that you could recommend or that you...
When you mentioned my rap music, the idea came up to take this as an example for what we are talking about. And then at the end, I try to answer your question. So I started doing rap music when I was 16, and I was like a big fan of German hip hop, and I was trying to do exactly what the others are doing. So I was like studying how do they rhyme, what beats do they use, what topics do they talk about. And actually I was like kind of imitating them, which is always a part of learning. So there's no judgment. And I try to like combine the rappers that I like to something new or something that I like most. And then with 30, I stopped completely, and with 40, so 3 years ago, I started again. And I was asking myself the question, how does rap music sound that the adult Daniel is doing? The Daniel who's also self-employed, who's also a founder, who's also a mindfulness coach, and so on. And my first album that I released beginning of this year in January, I think it's like a mixture of the old Daniel with all these beliefs, how rap music has to sound like, and the new Daniel, who's a little bit more brave or a little bit more authentic. But still, when I listen to it, it still feels like I try to make an album that sounds like how people expect that rap music has to sound like. And now for the next album I'm working on, and I showed a few songs to you already, I have this feeling that it really comes from the heart, or it comes from the inside, and there is less and less beliefs in it, less and less filters. It's just I want to write a song about love, so I'm writing a song about love. What do I love? And I'm listing all the things that my heart feels. And can you do this as a rap artist? I don't know, but it's who I am, right? And I think, to be 100% authentic here, I still think that it's not real 100% me. But it's getting more and more in this direction. And this is something I really enjoy to observe. How the music becomes more and more a mirror of myself, and less a service, or how people expect things to be. And I think this is what art is about. And I never called myself an artist, but I'm starting to understand the essence of being an artist. An artist is not thinking about what other people think and just following this creation that wants to come through you, as you also called it. And I think on the new album there are a lot of songs that go in this direction. On the old album, I can't recall any song that is exactly like that. which doesn't mean that the songs are not worth listening.
I
What's
can
your favorite
recommend
song, John?
the one that Ich krieg dich nicht aus meinem Kopf. I
Out
love
of my
that one.
head.
Out of my head. I love that one. Oh my God. It's like, please everyone listen to to Daniel's music. I'll put
And watch
that
the video on YouTube because it's kind of funny.
yeah. It's like really cool 80s background, like in that one. So I'm gonna put the link to that also in the description, that everyone can listen to your amazing music. And I'm super looking forward to the new songs. What I also celebrate in your share was this sense that I got from, it's not that one day I make the decision or just I get enlightened and then I only live my essence every day in everything that I do, and either I live it or I don't live it. From what you shared, I understood that it's maybe also connected to this compass, walking towards or striving towards living
Yes.
that, and it's getting closer, and it's not wrong if you don't get 100% all the way within one day. It's like the sensation of moving towards that. That's how I understood it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. And I can,
Ich stehe ganz am Anfang. I'm still at the beginning.
Oh, beautiful.
There's so much more. Just think about, so why I wrote down the sentence. Think about you walk 100 meters, or let's say 100 kilometers. Yeah, and you think, wow, I did 100 kilometers and now I'm really there. But then you zoom out and you think about how big is Germany, how big is Europe, how big is the world, how big is the universe. The 100 kilometers are just the beginning, the moment you zoom out. And it's with everything. When you start reading about a topic, let's say you love plants and you start reading about plants. And the more books you read, the more you understand what you don't know. Yeah. So the more doors you open, the more unopened doors you will find. And this is so beautiful because it's never ending learning, and that is life, never ending.
Yeah, and I really want to connect to that. That I met someone maybe 1.5 years ago. He said something which hasn't left my mind since that moment, and it's very connected to what you were sharing. He said, it doesn't matter how much you move forwards, how big of a step you make, small step or big step in your growth, because your path of growth is endless. So on an endless scale, if you walk 1 or 10 meters, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
So we don't have to beat ourselves. Oh, I only made 1 meter instead of 10. It's endless. It never stops. And the most beautiful thing, which he mentioned, was that, because I was running the belief that only when I know certain amount X about a topic, I can go out in the world and share it with others. I need to do this and that first in order to be able to share something. And then I connected to what he said, being like, it doesn't matter how much you know, how much you have experienced, because there's always someone who you can inspire with exactly what you've experienced right now. And maybe if you take 20 more steps, then this person won't be inspired, or it won't be relatable anymore. So like this, you can always share something. And that's what I really enjoyed when also listening to what you were saying.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. And I just remember a friend of mine who was here and who found this yellow sticky note, and he said, why do you write this down? And I told him about this idea, and he said, hey, Daniel, you experienced so much and you learned so much, and you're doing this job since so many years. You should not sell yourself under your value. And I was like, no, it's exactly the opposite. It doesn't mean that I cannot support someone else. And it's not like I didn't learn a lot, or I already made some kilometers. Yeah, but zooming out and seeing that there's so much more, it really opens me up. So it doesn't feel stressful. Oh shit, I have to read so many books to be an expert in the topic. No, you're never an expert in a topic, or you are always an expert in a topic. You can choose.
I like that. You can always choose, and there's much more. And yeah, I feel like at this moment that our episode is slowly coming towards an end with this beautiful phrase of yours. There's always more, and you can choose if you want to be an expert or call yourself an expert or not. At the very end, I wanted just to ask you this open question. Is there something else that you would like to share, either inspiring others in living their essence, expressing their essence, or something where you would like the support of others, or which you just are excited about to share with the world what you're doing right now? You can choose an open invitation to whatever it is that you want to share.
I would like to share that during our conversation, I felt a little bit insecure, and right now I'm feeling a little bit of shaking in my body. And I think that this is a great sign, because the moment you show up, you show yourself. The moment you speak about something that is that has a value for yourself, the moment you feel insecure. When you just tell people what they want to hear, or when you just play a role, you don't feel insecure. And for me, this is a part of my compass. Yeah, so if I feel insecurities, this is the way to go. I want to show myself, and I want to meet people who also show themselves, because this is the only way to meet and to connect. So being a little bit feeling insecure, even if I did like 80 podcast episodes, it's a good feeling for me, and I wanted to share that.
Thank you so much for sharing that, and I deeply, deeply appreciate your courage of showing yourself completely and with all that's there, because I think that this is the greatest inspiration, showing ourselves who we truly are in an ever-changing way with the world. I think has the power to inspire many, many people. And I hope also that this episode inspired you and everyone else who is watching and listening. I'm deeply grateful, deeply satisfied, looking further to our path that we will still share in many forms. We're working together, we're friends, we're making music together. I wish you all the best for the upcoming album. I hope that you get some extra sleep in the next coming nights. Fingers crossed.
Hope so too. I hope so too.
And yeah, thank you so much for joining today's episode.
Yes, thanks for the invitation, for this container, for listening, for challenging, for inspiring. And I really love your podcast. So I didn't listen to the episode about spirituality, so this is the next one on my playlist.
Amazing. Thank you. And everyone else, check out Daniel's podcast. I linked it as well in the description. Yeah, thank you, and see you soon.
Bye.